Good morning, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to the Weekly Energy Boost. I am excited to be here with you and share with you, if my phone would shut off. I shut off everybody else's phones but mine this morning.
How you know the show is live.
Yes, it is. We are live and we are excited to have you here. This is a very special day for us and a very special week, and we're going to share with you all about it in a moment. As always, the Weekly Energy Boost is a way for you to download on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, CastBox, and Stitcher the spiritual energy forecast according to the wisdom of Kabbalah. Every week, I bring by friends, colleagues, and fellow Kabbalah teachers to share with you that forecast, so you don't get only one meteorologist on this show.
You dragged us into the car. We had no choice.
Yes, so this week I have with me Daniel Naor, a Weekly Energy Boost veteran.
Woohoo! You used to have these clapping
Yes,
hands
we decided no more clapping. And for the first time ever on the Weekly Energy Boost, we have Yehuda Ashkenazi.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
We have live in studio audience right here. Yehuda is one of the teachers.
Clap with the hands above the head.
Yehuda is one of the teachers at the Kabbalah Center in Los Angeles and has been studying for, what is it now, 1,000,000 years?
1,000,001.
1,000,001. Well, congratulations on the 1,001st year of studying Kabbalah.
Thank you.
So, as I said before, today is a very important day for us because today is the anniversary of the day on which our teacher, Rav Berg, elevated to the non-physical plane. How's that for a
Sounds good.
eloquent way to say it?
Sounds spiritual.
5 years ago. And we spent the evening last night, right, connecting, studying, singing, sharing what Kabbalah teaches. And this is, I think, a bigger picture presentation to what we do with the Weekly Energy Boost. But Kabbalah teaches that there are two kinds of energetic windows in the calendar. There's ones that were woven into the fabric of creation and have existed for all time. And there's ones that people create through their actions, through their transformation. And today is one of the latter. Today is a day, Kabbalah also teaches that when a person leaves the physical realm, all of the energy they revealed in their lifetime is available for us to tap into. So today we are tapping into, this radio show wouldn't exist if not for the Rav. We wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be studying. I don't want to imagine what things would look like if not for the Rav. What does today mean to you guys?
Yehuda, you would like to start?
Jump in, Yehuda.
Jump in.
Don't wait for the invitation.
This day for me is obviously one of the most special days of the year. As the year is going by, it's been 5 years since the Rav left the physical world. At the beginning, it was a very difficult time, but as the time goes by, I believe that many of us can feel the light of the Rav even stronger. It's a day to connect with the real essence of our work. It's a day for me to reawaken my own commitment for the path of bringing the wisdom of Kabbalah, the path of the Rav, of Keren, of the Kabbalah Center, of Rabbi Shimon to the world. It's a day for me to draw from the light, from the unwavering certainty and strength of the Rav, and to awaken all of those energies and powers within, and hopefully to share it with others.
There's so many things that I could talk about, and could talk about it forever. So the one thing that stands out for me is really what I felt being around this spiritual giant while he was here, and I wish to stay connected to that forever, even while he's not on the physical plane. And especially every year when this day comes around, we know that support, that light is stronger available for all of us. So I think if you ask different students, different teachers, they all feel connected to a different gift that they felt the Rav has given them. And one of the things that I just felt, it's oftentimes not from the words or the teaching, what the Rav said, there was tremendous depth and wisdom, but the feeling that I got just being around or from hearing the words from the Rav is two things. I felt one.
Only two.
Yeah, now it's two. Now it's two. I upgraded from 1 to 2. But I would like to share two. One is the complete certainty. And I think, the Kabbalists teach that really the job of a spiritual master and sages and spiritual mentors is mainly to give a person the feeling of one thing, to boost their certainty, to give people hope, to give people certainty. And that's certainly just the presence. It doesn't matter what the Rav said. You could just feel like everything is going to be okay. Everything is going to be all right. And that energy is available. The Rav was just a channel to awaken that feeling within us. So that's something that I want to connect to today. And the second thing is true care. I think one of the other teachers mentioned it yesterday at the event that we had at the center, that when you talk to the Rav, you felt like you are the only person in the world that the Rav is talking to. And that's certainly something that is worthwhile for us to emulate as well. To really, when we talk to a person, to not think about, what am I about to say, and not to think about ourselves or how they perceive me or even what advice I'm going to tell them, but really just to think about them, to really focus on them and give them that care and that support. I could go on and on, but
well, I think it's one of the things that strikes me. We always talk about different Kabbalists throughout the ages that have left the physical realm. We try to bring them into the show when an anniversary of their elevation comes during the week. We talk about people from 500 years ago, 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago. The Rav is a Kabbalist that we knew, right? I think that's one of the things that distinguishes the Rav from all the other personalities, all of the other righteous souls that we speak about, is that we had a personal experience with the Rav.
And I want to add just one thing, because sometimes when we talk about people that we admire a lot and appreciate, it might sound like, wow, we put them on a pedestal. But I think it's important to mention that, the Rav never wanted that. That wasn't the intention of the Rav. And I think the Rav would always wanted to inspire us and to show us that, everybody has a spark of light. And if we're doing our spiritual work, we can reach the same level, right? It's not just looking up and admiring a person, is to be inspired by that person and to realize that that's the place that we're meant to reach, and even more, right? Yeah. Like just to be inspired by that.
And the Rav wasn't someone that lived on a mountaintop or in a cave.
Right.
One of the amazing things that we could all see about the Rav, if the Rav would be in places that people would not even know about the Rav, for instance, being in a restaurant, and you have a waiter who is serving the table that cannot really differentiate between the Rav and another
anyone
person.
Else at the next table.
Somehow, they all could feel the energy of the Rav. Somehow, it would end up by them coming and asking for a blessing, asking for empowerment, asking for something. When you don't, as Danny said, we don't look for the recognitions, when we don't look for the external, when the work is really internal, everyone can feel it. Everyone can feel it.
That you could be 100 feet away from the Rav and feel that also. Right. You just walked into the room. And I think as teachers, that's something that we all want to carry forward as well. That it's not about talking. It's not about preaching. It's not about lecturing. It's about living.
I love what I'm sorry to interrupt. I love what just stick with me. And Karen Burke mentioned it a few times, which I love this quote, and I think it's very fitting for the Rav and for all of us to aspire to get to more and more to a level like that. Karen said, how do you measure spirituality or a person that is becoming more spiritual? There were three things, but one of the first things that Karen said was that you can feel the energy without them saying anything. Mm-hmm. That you can reach a person with your heart, with your internal, as Yuda was sharing, without you even saying a word. You can just feel it.
The Rav would mention the Rav's teacher, Rav Breinwein, that his voice was very, very quiet. And with this quiet voice, the Rav Breinwein could move mountains.
Right.
If you want to make time or take time to connect with the Rav today, as always, when we connect to someone on their anniversary, it's recommended to light a candle. We lit candles last night for the Rav. Because of technology, you can read the Rav's books. You can watch videos of the Rav. Again, to be able to learn directly from the Rav is probably the most powerful way to connect today. And in the spirit of the Rav, sharing that wisdom, sharing what you're watching or listening to right now, being a part of the link, a link in the chain, as the Rav used to say. Being part of that path for someone else. And we were studying last night from actually that part where the Rav was saying, if you help someone connect to the wisdom, connect to the light, you're part of that pipeline that delivers that energy to them. So
every minute that they invest in studying, if you handed the book to the individual, every minute, every energy that being awakened by them must be related to your process. And therefore, more people you touch, all of those energies eventually manifesting inside of your life.
So now you know why we do this show.
Right.
Because we get all the energy,
no
all the
other
benefits.
Agenda.
No other agenda. But, one of the things that I can tell you, I saw very clearly, and you can see when you look in the camera as well, I see very clearly is that the Ravs picked the date so specifically, and we don't have to get into all the details, but that's another signature quality when a righteous soul leaves the world, is that it's not random. I don't think for any of the souls that leave the world it's random, but we could really see how exactly in this time between the 10 days of that transformation that we were looking toward achieving, that just concluded on Wednesday, and now we're heading into another a 7-day period that is instrumental in creating the year that we want. And that's why we said today's show is going to be about unlimiting our potential, because that's what this week is all about. And it's really the Rav giving us that push into the week and into the work that we have coming to us this week that we want to talk about with you today. So when we say the word limitations, even, I think it's important to clarify, what do we mean by limitations? Or when we talk about unlimiting, or when we limit ourselves versus unlimiting ourselves, what are some of the limitations we put on ourselves?
It all starts, of course, in consciousness, because like you were saying, the only limitations it's self-imposed, right? So limitations in consciousness can be, first of all, not realizing our full potential. That's the first limit that we put on ourselves by not even realizing how great our potential is. Another is self-doubt, insecurities. All these are limiting factors in our consciousness, not letting us realize how great our potential actually is.
One of the ideas that the Rav shares in one of the teachings of 10 Luminous Emanations is, if a developer building a building, the development of the building does not start with the phase of the ground. It starts with the floor that he wants to reach. I've always used to use the number, I don't know why, 84. If you want to build a building of 84 stories, if you don't have the 84 in your plan, in your vision, and you just start from ground zero, more likely, even if the desire will be awakened eventually to get to the 84 floor, it will be much more complicated. When we talk about limiting ourselves, as Daniel mentioned, it starts with our thoughts. It starts with the way that we're visioning our capabilities, our true capacity.
As we look at that, those, I guess the right way to say it is self-limiting thoughts, self-limiting behaviors or perceptions. This week we'll find that the universe is giving us the opportunity to expand beyond what we think or what we feel or what we perceive is capable. And that's because on Sunday night, we begin a 7-day journey that the Kabbalists call Sukkot. And Sukkot literally means huts. It's not, it's, I think personally, I always thought it was a funny name in general for the week. We could call it something else, many different options, obviously.
Candy.
I was going to say popcorn, but candy is good as well.
Yeah.
But there's a code. Kabbalists are busy with codes and secrets all the time. But the real essence for me is it's not about the hut. It's about what the hut allows us to do. And you don't have to sit in the hut in order to tap into this energy. It's available for us. I think last week we used the example that you have everybody, regardless of whether they're aware of it or not, has the potential to tap into this energy. How much we tap into it depends on our awareness. So the fact that we're talking today about using the next week to push beyond the boundaries of what you thought is possible, what you think is possible, what you expect from yourself, that's what this week is all about. And I think that we need to talk about, one of the most limiting things that we do is when we feel stress, when we feel pressure, when there's a deadline, when there's people with expectations, we tend to limit ourselves. And how can we use the next, we're talking today, it's Friday. This work really begins on Sunday. But what can we do in those 7 days to make the most of the energy that's available, to expand our potential, to break beyond even our goals, even our ideas, or what we think is possible?
So the light that is available for us, and it's important to know that the code word for that light in this 7-week period that is available for us.
7 days.
What did I
Don't
say?
make it 7 weeks, my God.
7 weeks
Would be nice. Would be nice. 7 weeks of unlimited potential. Is called surrounding light. Surrounding light. And this is the light that Elisheva mentioned, that unlimited, it's the light of our potential. And one of the most crucial ways that we can connect with it is by expanding our capacity, expanding our vessel. How do we do that? We'll discuss a couple of ways. I can mention one. Is anytime we feel pressure in our life. What is that pressure actually? What is that pressure? Nobody loves pressure. Well, some people feel like they work better.
Some people need pressure,
Some
but
people need
I'm
it.
not sure the people who need it love it either.
Yeah. And there's a big difference between pressure and stress. What would you say is the difference between pressure and stress?
Around the conversation of stress, I always go to, the Rav wrote a book many years ago called The Power of One. And there's a whole chapter about stress in that book. And the Rav uses the example. The Rav says, let's say you have a factory and the demand of the factory has increased. So you have a choice. You don't have a choice yet. You get a bigger machine. So your floor manager comes to you and says, I'm sorry, boss, the machine is too heavy. We either need to strengthen the floor or move to a different property, move to a different factory. So you have a choice in that moment. Do you strengthen the floor or do you expand, right? If you don't choose one of the two, what's going to happen? The floor is going to collapse. So in that same way, when pressure comes, what is it really? We're asked for more. I usually, when I teach this in classes, I use an example of a person who asks for their soulmate, right? And I'm sure a lot of our listeners are asking for soulmates. Say here if you're asking for your soulmate. Say I. So you ask the universe for your soulmate. Your soulmate is, on its way down. Imagine a little stick figure falling out of the sky coming towards you. And it's not that the person falls into your lap. The universe gives you an opportunity to expand your capacity so that you can have that person in your life. And that doesn't come with a bouquet of roses. It comes with, pressure at work or your family, pushing back on you, or you suddenly feel like you need to do something different and you don't know where the pressure is coming from. The pressure is coming from you asked for a machine that produces more. You've got to expand. You've got to either strengthen the floor, right? And we had in the car a conversation about sharing. One of the ways when the stress comes to handle it, to strengthen the floor or push out the walls, is to share. But you've got to find a way not to put, because the pressure is saying you can handle more. And you're saying, but I don't want the soulmate. I can't handle it.
In essence, that's what we're saying,
Right.
Even if we're not aware of it. And I think that's the difference between pressure and stress. Pressure is not bad. pressure is the light, the creator, that endless flow of energy wanting to come in. It's knocking on our door. Say, hey, you asked for me, no? Say, no, I didn't really mean it, right? So stress is the negative side effect of not being able to handle the pressure. That's the reactive part of when the pressure comes. And I say, no, I can't handle it.
Stress is when you think pressure is bad.
Right.
Stress is when you say, I can't handle it. It's too much for me. And in essence, we're saying, I can't handle more blessings. Because the ability to do more, to reach more, to accomplish more, to influence more, increases the blessings in our life. I mean,
one of the beautiful, powerful things, we're repeating it very often, right, in all the teachings, and I believe all of you watching and connected with the Kabbalah Center, with the wisdom, heard it many times from many teachers and many lessons, that the key is understanding it's all about consciousness. What does it mean in that sense of the pressure and the stress? Expansion of consciousness. We know the days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, we just had an amazing connection, and I hope all of you had powerful and meaningful connection in Yom Kippur. We know those 10 days, that the days that we construct what known as the left column, our capacity to receive for the coming year, our spiritual vessel, how much we will be capable to receive. As we enter into those 7 days period, known as Sukkot, this is the time that we construct what known as the right column, our capability and capacity to give and to share. When we feel the stress, it's because there is no balance between how much comes into our lives versus how much we are willing and we're doing for others.
That's beautiful.
So this is why we have the 7 days. When we speak about limitless, unfortunately, most of the time, we think about this idea because of many probably books and things we heard before. Being limitless in this life is being limitless in how much I'm capable to receive.
Right.
Those 7 days are to awaken another feature inside of us, which is the real essence of our soul, which is like the Creator, which is essence of sharing. And think about being limitless in your capability to share. Being limitless in your capabilities to touch people, to awaken people, to elevate others. In order to create the real full capacity, and eventually that it will help us to create the balance between what comes as a pressure, which, as Daniel said, this is positive, and Elisheva, you mentioned in the factory, the example the Rav gives in the book, pressure is good. Pressure, you ask for more, the universe gives you more. There is no delay between the moment you ask and the time the universe gives. The universe gives right away. But when more comes and I don't have yet the vessel for it, then what Daniel said, it will manifest as the stress, which is the side negative effect of this pressure, right? So this time, we do want to awaken the limitless aspect inside of us. But after Rosh Hashanah, in our mind, in our consciousness, in our actions, what we want to do, it is to think about the idea of being limitless in a whole new level of capacity to give in our life.
And I think it's important to mention, and I think sometimes this gets confusing, especially when we have listeners who are not yet studying Kabbalah. Kabbalah doesn't teach that you should renounce all material goods or wealth. Kabbalah doesn't teach that you should, put on a potato sack and eat gravel and just give and
we
share.
actually drink great coffee.
Yes, we're as all of our listeners know how important coffee is to the show. I'm surprised we don't have people calling to sponsor the show yet. That's our next level.
And we use iPhone.
Okay, that would be another great sponsor.
This is not a promotion to anything, right? You use different formats.
Special consideration provided by. So, Kabbalah teaches that it's important for us to be full ourselves, right? It's not about nothing for me, only for others, but through we're here to develop and increase our desire to receive for the sake of sharing. That's really what it means. Well, we talk about being a channel all the time on this show. That's what being a channel means. I want happiness so I can give happiness. I want love so I can give love. And of course, if you're an advanced Kabbalah student, you also know that in order for me to be able to give love, I need to receive it. And so there isn't that, I think in a lot of spiritual philosophies, there is a kind of negation of the self, denying my needs, my desires, what's important to me. The opposite, if it's the if it's the coffee that fulfills me, or the music, or the being in nature, or having a successful business so that I can influence and reach and share with more people, that's just as important. And not to confuse that. There's this kind of perception that spiritual people don't want anything. They're lowly.
This is beautiful, because in the core essence of the teachings, we explain over and over, it's not about what you do. It's about your intention behind what you do. Right? So one can divorce themselves from the physical reality, but you don't know what they have in their mind.
Yeah.
Don't you love having you on the show, adding so much depth?
I would bring my guitar if I would know.
That would be the next level.
Yeah,
next time.
Let us know in the comments if you want Yehuda to bring his guitar to the next show.
Please.
This is one. The second,
it'll be like it'll be like a late night TV show. We'll have the musical accompaniment, like the Jimmy Fallon,
Yesterday I had a conversation with a student, and we talked about also the energy coming up and how it's related to sharing. And we had a conversation. We talked about how, everybody, of course, it's part of our body consciousness and our nature. It has that aspect of desire to receive. And like Yuda said, that we think that only by receiving we're happy. And of course, we don't deny that. Of course, we want to receive. It's part of who we are as a vessel. We want to receive. But like Yuda was sharing, there has to be that balance. Kabbalah, the wisdom, is called to receive. So obviously we want to receive. But Kabbalah is teaching us how to receive in a lasting way. Right? Not how to take energy to be instant gratification, but how to allow the universe to share with us and to receive it. And for that reason, we want to build up what the Kabbalists called our right column energy, our capacity to share. Because a person can have a great capacity to receive. And they can have a lot of blessings, physical blessings, everything. But if their capacity to share anything, the capacity to share their heart, the capacity not to be stingy with their time, if their capacity to share is small, the paradox is that they won't be able to enjoy the blessings that they already have.
One of the beautiful things, and I'm sorry if I'm taking it to deeper places, but one of the beautiful things, Rav Ashlag and the Kabbalists explain, there's a difference between sharing and the desire to share.
Yeah.
Right? What we want to build in those 7 days is a new capacity of desire to share. Because we all probably can find ourselves in moments of giving. Mm-hmm. I always use the example of we all parents. And you have certain obligations as parents. And as a parent, you drive your kids to school, right?
Not in our case.
Not in our case.
We're blessed to have the school right around the corner from our house. And I think
you can join us.
Some people, yes.
Yes. So for most of people, right, they need to drive their kids, and it comes as obviously responsibility and obligation. I always think about, do all the parents enjoy the moment of driving their kids to school? And how do you know when you enjoy something? You don't wait it to be over. When you do something that you don't really enjoy, you want it to be over because you already want to move to the next thing, right? When you enjoy giving, it comes from the desire to do, and not because of you are obligated, not because you have to, not because of responsibility. You develop love into this part of the desire inside of you to give and to share. And this is one of the things that we want to awaken those days.
I think it's important to share that one of the things we focus on in these 7 days of Sukkot is sharing energy with the world.
Right.
That it's not a coincidence that, when you talk about expanding your potential to receive and enjoy and benefit, you've got to do that through the act of giving, right? We often use the example of putting a hole in the cup, right? So if you put a hole in the cup, you're always giving, or you remove the bottom of the cup. The cup can always be full and also always giving to the cup beneath it or next to it. Someone actually pointed out to me in teaching that concept, people say, my cup runneth over. Like, I'm so full, I have so much to give. Well, what happens with what runneth over? What happens with what the cup can't hold anymore? That's one of the reasons to put the hole in the cup, right? To make sure that the cup never, it doesn't waste, nothing gets wasted. It's always part of a pipeline to be able to share with others. But our meditations during next week are to really to nourish and to sustain the peace in different countries around the world. So, on one hand, where Kabbalah teaches you have to receive, on the other hand, Kabbalah also teaches that if you want to hold on to what you've got to share it.
Yeah. And along with what you said and Yuda said as well, I think we can introduce another word even to that energy that we want to build and focus on, not just giving and sharing. And I think there's also a difference in if we're introducing or mentioning the word kindness, right? Because like the example that Yuda was giving with driving our kids, another example that I heard once that I use many times, I like that, is when you go, let's say you go to a dentist and he's doing his job, right? He's fixing your teeth, let's say. And let's say even he's doing a good job physically, but, he had a bad day. He didn't love doing it. He made a face. He really was annoyed. He was actually angry about something that happened, and he was annoyed with you. So he did his job. So technically, on a physical level, he helped you, right? He shared. He helped you with something.
If it's his job, is he sharing?
Well, right. Let's say.
But this is interesting because if you think about, I cannot say 100%, but 99% of jobs, they're related to giving service.
Right.
This is the way it's structured. That even if you're
a
computer guy, right? You're giving service. You work in the bank, you're giving service. You're a teacher, you're giving service.
So can I ask, we got a question from someone.
Yes.
It's totally in that line. Is it not sharing if you say no to a contract because it's really too low for what you're giving? When is knowing your worth not sharing?
I think,
like rejecting an opportunity, and I don't mean to, I use the word opportunity not because it's positive and you're rejecting it, but rejecting a contract or an opportunity or a partnership because it's beneath you or below your level.
I think all what we want is to feel like we're the cause, like we're in control, we decide, right? So I think it's just a matter of determining what do I set myself up for. So if I say, okay, you know what, I'm going to volunteer my time, and whatever they want to pay me, they'll pay me, but I'm not doing it for the money. Great. So I choose to give regardless, right? I'm unconditional in that sense. But when I say, okay, this is my business and I know my worth and I feel they don't appreciate or value that, so no, I feel like the vessel and the light need to match, right? There cannot be a mismatch there. So if I feel like I'm giving a lot more than there's to handle or the vessel appreciates, then there's a mismatch there. We need to balance it, absolutely.
The idea, I'm sorry, I'm getting back into Rav Ashlag and the 10 Luminous Emanations, but...
Clearly you don't usually listen to the show because we would say Rav Ashlag at least 5 times in every show. Sponsored by Rav Ashlag.
So the idea, one of the things Rav Ashlag explains is connecting with the light of the Creator, and this is what we all want. Connecting with the light of the Creator is connecting with the attributes of the Creator. In a deeper level, the attributes of the Creator, they're related to what known as the Sfirot in the Tree of Life. Those of you who heard, there are the 10 dimensions, spiritual levels.
I'm sure you've seen the image on the show before, the circles and lines that connect. Yeah, there it is. So that's the 10 Sfirot, that's the Tree of Life according to Kabbalah.
Right. So without getting too much and too deep into that, but we know that each one of the Sfirot has different attributes. So if we talk about the Sfira known as Chesed, related to the desire to give, the desire to share, there is the following sphera, which is Gvura, which is the left column, which is a little technical.
Did you hear some wisdom? I heard some wisdom.
I heard it from above. So it was it was from my side. So the following phase, right, Gvura, which is known as judgment, the left column, which related to the desire to receive, right? We know it's connected with the capability to place boundaries in our lives. This is one of the ideas. There are many ideas, right? Most of us thinking about life in just through one dimension. Is it right to give? Is it right not to give? Think about your capability of having the desire to give and realizing that giving in certain times is saying no in order to create an opportunity for the other person. What you do when you say no, when the intention being driven by the desire to give, you're actually giving an opportunity for the person maybe to realize that if they want the business with you, they need to think a little different about the whole thing. So it's not that you don't want to give, you want to give, but you want to give it in the right way, that it will be balanced. So the desire to give is there, and sometimes you do need to say, I'm going to reject this deal because it is not the right thing. By the intention of giving, you're creating the opportunity for the person to develop themselves into new awareness, because if you really think about them, they might go to the next opportunity in business and lose it again, and they will not realize why they're not successful.
Right. And that we have some great questions here. I hope it's okay that I throw them out at you. Margarita's asking, and I think it's a great question because I bet there's a lot of people who are listening that are thinking this. It's very hard for me to share.
You're the only one.
Yes. So I think that's probably the popular opinion in listening to our show. How can I start to share from my heart?
It's a great question. I
Right,
think
you can know it's the right thing to do and do it because you know it's the right thing to do, but the next level would be to do it from a genuine, authentic, and heart.
Mm-hmm. I think the first thing that Margarita, that you need to do, and many of us should be doing, is not judging ourselves. Because the moment you judge yourself, it will limit your capability really to shift and to get into that place that you want to be. That sharing will be maybe a bit more natural for you. So the first idea is to realize that judging myself will not be helpful. It will not be any solution. The second thing, developing ourselves and different attributes inside of us in a spiritual level will be more or less the same like developing a muscle in your body. If you're going to the gym and you are capable at the moment to carry 20 pounds weight, and your goal it is to carry eventually 150, and you'll try to carry 150 the following day, you'll not be able to do that. And even if you'll be able to do it a little bit, it will damage your muscle. So the same way in the spiritual level, you want to build yourself gradually. So think about small things. And as you involve yourself in actions of sharing, small things that you feel you are capable of, it will start to awaken that energy. And when you focus on it and you trying to make it consistent, every day take 3 actions of sharing, you'll start to feel the difference in that sense that it will become a bit easier for you to share. Try it for 3 months. Every day take 3 actions of sharing, even if it goes against your nature or your desire or your comfort, a little actions that will start to build this muscle.
Another thing that can help us transition to share more from the heart is the simple thing in pausing and asking ourselves why we're doing it. Why do I want to share? Why? Because I think many times when sharing comes from the head is we haven't clarified for ourselves enough the action that we're doing. It becomes either we're doing it for the other person, or there are many calculations that are running through our head, and then we're losing the heart and we're losing the kindness. So when we pause and ask, okay, why am I doing this action? And I realize, because that's what for me, many times when I pause and ask this question, it's for me to remind myself actually that the sharing is for me. And if I understand that I am the one to benefit from it, of course others hopefully as well, and it will help. But I understand it's driven from a place that it will open my heart. It will bring more joy into my life.
That's what the Rav used to call an enlightened greed.
Enlightened greed. Yeah.
Did I mention Rav Ashlag?
Not yet.
Rav Ashlag told to one of his students, when he told Rav Ashlag that he doesn't have even the desire to do certain things, and Rav Ashlag told him simply, ask to awaken this desire.
The desire for the desire.
That's right.
Margarita, I want to tell you a secret, though. And again, this is for all of us. I think we all, even those of us who are habitual sharers, there's in the words of the great Meatloaf, I'll do anything for love, but I won't do that, right? We all have something that, don't go there with me, right?
Mordechai would sing it now if
he would. And again, we have a lot of people asking for the guitar, so no pressure.
We do. I didn't see that, so
we'll talk about it in the car.
Okay.
Sharing is our essence. Like anything that's not sharing isn't me. And when I think about that, that's what pushes me to break free from that limitation. Someone asked me to do something and I'm not in the mood. The part of me that's not in the mood is not me. Mm-hmm. And that when I learned that was such a revelation for me, that by me sharing, I'm actually unleashing the true me. And that doesn't mean, like Yehuda said, you don't have boundaries, you don't know when to say, you need to know when to say no, especially, I know Margarita is an Aries, if I remember right, but if some signs have difficulty putting up those boundaries, it's important to, but realizing that the illusion is that I don't want to, or that I don't feel like it. Right. And the whole reason I don't feel like it is to push past it, or to find another way to navigate the situation so that I can express the creator nature within me.
This is the path of expansion.
And we have another question. I like this one. This is one that often, a similar question comes up in almost every show. Is there something we can do to help someone important in our lives to learn how to share from a place of desire as opposed to obligation or fear?
I think one of the things that we could experience from our teachers, from the Rav and Karen, is that the most powerful way of awakening someone else or teaching someone else is the way that you live your life. And there are many times and many people in our lives that they will not learn from us by us explaining them. They will learn from us by the way that they look at us, our actions, the way we behave. And I think that, to keep it in mind, one of the most powerful ways of teaching people, of awakening people, is simply the way that we conduct and the way that we live our own lives.
It's so annoying, right? You've heard me many times say Kabbalah is annoying. If you love someone, you care about somebody, you're close with somebody, and you feel they don't get it, or you see them limiting themselves, or operating from an unhealthy or imbalanced place, and you want to knock it out of them sometimes, right? We're not here to knock it out of anybody but ourselves.
We had the merit to have many experiences with the Rav, with our teacher. And the Rav once said that the biggest restriction for the Rav is not telling people.
It's so funny. Someone just wrote the same.
Really?
Yeah.
The biggest lesson in Kabbalah was the fact that these lessons are really for me, not to teach others unless they ask.
Right. And the Rav, in the spiritual level of the Rav could see through you. The Rav could see through the way you behave, the way you act, all the external. The Rav would be able to see the intention inside of people. And the Rav could say to each one of us and to so many people, right, this is wrong, this is right, this is what you need to do. But no, giving people the space to grow into what eventually they need to become by not telling them.
So difficult. I can't even imagine.
I think I heard it once that Karen said that before the Rav and Karen started, like as they started to open the path of Kabbalah to the masses, they swore, they committed, they put this commitment between them to never ever, and I think it's so powerful, to never ever interfere with people's process. To never interfere. And yesterday, as we were studying, we had a workshop and we studied different sections and teachings from the Rav. One of the things the Rav talked about was about giving advice. And Rav again stressed the point of how, in a way, dangerous it is to give advice, but how many times the best thing to do is actually not to give any advice. And Rav was saying that because anytime we give advice, we give advice so freely, so openly, like we don't even think, right? But we can interfere with people's processes. And the Rav said, like, really think twice. Think twice before you give any advice. It rhymes now, a little rap. Think twice before you give advice.
Daniel will be rapping on the
I'll
next
be rapping,
show.
you then the guitar. It will be a blast. So, like, because we don't know. The Rav said, unless you really, really feel like you give that advice, you would give the same advice to yourself. Unless you really feel the person and you really care for them and you would give yourself the same advice to yourself, think twice if you want to say something.
For me, one of the things we try to do at the end of every show is to give people the work of the week. What can we assign everybody who's listening, everybody who's watching? What's, let's say, the 2 or 3 things that they can do this week to take advantage of the energy? I think sharing, number 1, right? We covered that pretty extensively.
Sharing, but also with the emphasis of really with kindness, like with like everything that we said now. Not just focusing on how many actions of sharing I'm doing, but really on the quality of that share. How many of those actions were really unconditional, from the heart, really with imbued and infused with love.
If we would think about 3 things that we do already, right? You think about your life and 3 things that you already do as far as sharing. Mm-hmm. Asking yourself, do I really enjoy sharing? Because this period of time, it is not a brain work. There is a cosmic energy now that is available.
Right.
And when you awaken that desire, the universe right now, in those days, can help each one of us in ways that are not available throughout the year. Just recognize, awakening this desire. I need to be truthful with myself. Maybe I'm not there, but I'm asking the light to help me to get there.
I think one thing that helps me, especially when I think I feel like I'm in a funk, is waking up in the morning and saying, I can't wait to see what the light has in store for me today. Like really with a curious and anticipation, because whatever the light is going to send your way is in response to you asking for the greater blessings, the expanded potential, the removal of the limitations and barriers in your life. So that attitude, imagine having that attitude for 7 days. I'm not saying have it forever, but holding that attitude, looking for the opportunities to share, to say a kind word, to smile. You never know what kind of impact you're going to have. Right. And as always, we'll be back here next Friday. Mystery, I don't know who's going to be here with me, but we'll be back here next Friday. And the following week, the week after this exciting week, is even more exciting. We have a lot of opportunity. No, it's not. I don't know if it's even more exciting, but it is exciting. The important thing is for you to know we're here next Friday, and then we're going to go back to Mondays after that. So I'll talk more about that next week. If you enjoyed what you saw today, you're more than welcome to share it. You can also find us, aside from on Facebook, we're on Spotify, iTunes. I am blocked every time I need to say it. iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, CastBox, and Stitcher. If you have questions that you don't feel comfortable putting in the comments, you can always email us. There you go. It slipped. Email us at energyboost@kabbalah.com. Thank you, Yehuda. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you, Elisheva.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here, and we will see you next week. Good luck in your sharing. We want to hear how it went for you in next week's show.